This was me at 24, and this is a spreadsheet I made at the time to try and plan how I was going to retire at 35. You can see that I actually made this here on my old 2012 MacBook. Those were the good old days. The days of starry-eyed dreams. But these are the good days too. These are the days of trying to make that dream a reality. I have a goal to reach an inflation-adjusted net worth of $1 million by the time I am 35 years old. That is about 7 years into the future. Assuming an average inflation rate of about 3%, which I know sounds really low given the context that we are in today, but I think that's probably a fair average long-term rate. That means I will need about $1.2 million. So here's my progress today. You can see that there's a pretty interesting change in the charts that happened around age 26, and that's because I ended up quitting my job here about halfway through the year to become self-employed, so I took a temporary hit. But so far, even though I took that hit that year, choosing to bet on myself resulted in short-term pain but long-term gain, because you can see I've been able to greatly increase my income now. You can also see that it looks as though I'm way behind my goal, but it only appears that way because I've modeled the goal as a linear trend line. In reality though, my journey to financial freedom, and I think most people's journey to financial freedom, is going to be an exponential curve. It's going to start slow and then require a tremendous amount of hard work at the beginning with little perceived gain. But with consistent effort, it will snowball into something that rapidly increases the further out into the future you go here. I think this is one of the most deceiving and discouraging things about personal finance, and that's because in our heads, we imagine that our financial journey is going to look like a linear progression, when in reality, it's actually going to be much more exponential. So in the beginning, it can feel like nothing is really happening for a long time perhaps, but if we stick with it and be consistent in our efforts, we can be handsomely rewarded in the future. A simple way to illustrate this is to imagine that we invested something like $10,000 and earned 10% on that investment. Well, that means that we would earn $1,000. But what if we invested $100,000 instead? Well, that means at 10%, we would earn $10,000. As you continue to extrapolate this out into the future with larger and larger amounts that you build up, you can continue to see how this journey becomes much more exponential over time. Really, the fruit of your labor here is towards the later part of your journey. So how is this possible though? Can somebody really retire on $1 million adjusted for inflation? What do I even mean by retirement? And why would someone even want to do this in the first place? Well, let's answer all of those questions. First of all, yes, it is possible to retire on that amount of money, and here's how. Let's say, for example, that by the time I'm 35 that I spend $40,000 per year on average. If I start with $1 million, then I will run out of money by the time I'm 60. So that's no good. It doesn't look like it works here. But there's a huge problem with this, and that's because we don't simply want $1 million in cash. That's not the goal. We want $1 million in investments. So let's say instead that we are investing that $1 million and we're earning about 7% per year on this investment. That means we're earning $70,000 per year on this, and assuming we spend that same $40,000 per year, well, now let's see what happens. Whoa, okay. Not only do we not run out of money, but our money is actually growing. How is this possible? It's possible because our investments are earning us more money than we are spending in a year. In a nutshell, our investments have basically become our main source of income. We no longer have to work if we don't want to. This is the goal that I personally want to achieve, and at this point, I would consider myself fully financially independent. But it's not that simple. No, life's not gonna make it that easy for us. While that example was kind of an easy way to illustrate the concepts of financial independence, life won't actually work out that way. There are so many factors that influence the amount of investments that you will need to build up in order to be financially free. First of all, No investment is going to give you exactly 7% return per year. The stock market is commonly cited as having an average return of 7% per year, but that's just an average. In reality, stock market returns look like this. They are all over the place, and sometimes they are actually quite negative some years. And this dramatically affects how the future is going to play out for you. And so my personal approach is going to be quite conservative, I think, with my strategy. But before we talk strategy, I need to tell you about today's sponsor, Neo. Many of you will remember that I talked a bunch about Neo over the past little while, and that's because I switched all of my banking and my main credit card over to them. And so some people from Neo saw this and was like, hey, thanks for giving us all that free publicity, but why don't we actually like team up with you and sponsor you? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that would actually be awesome. Thank you for supporting me. So Neo is a financial company in Canada with a really dope savings rate and a really dope credit card. How dope? Let me tell you. One of my favorite butcher shops in the city is Nosotalo's, where quality meets value. Get it? Meets value? Anyway, when I shop there with my Neo credit card, I get 3% cash back. What's crazy is the card has an average cashback rate of 4% and 0 fees. None. I've never seen anything like this. On top of that, the cashback is instantly rewarded to your account and you get a minimum of 1% on every single purchase. There's also their savings account, which has an amazing interest rate right now of 1.3%. You basically would be very hard pressed to get that anywhere. And the account also has 0 fees. So these are some of the best perks I have ever seen on a bank account setup as well as a credit card setup, and so they are currently my go-to. Best of all, if you sign up using my link down below, you will get $50 rewarded to your account as a thank you. And then listen to this. Once you sign up, you will get your own referral link, which you can then use to refer other people. So if you know friends, family, anyone else who might be interested, hey, this could be a really quick and easy, nice little chunk of change for you. So check out the link down below for Neo. Break up with your dusty old bank and see where the future of personal finance is heading. All right, now let's talk strategy. So I think there's two main investment approaches that people try and use to achieve early retirement, and that's the stock market and real estate. Crypto also gets an honorable mention here, as many people have actually achieved early financial freedom from crypto, but this is much more difficult to do in my opinion, and also much more risky. The stock market provides a great path to financial freedom because basically all you need to do is build up a large portfolio of something like index ETFs, which can earn you something like an average of 7% per year on average. And then what you would do is you would sell some of these off every single year to pay for your expenses. The pros for this strategy is that, well, first of all, it's relatively easy to actually execute this. Investing in index fund ETFs is an incredibly simple and effective investment. And if you don't know what those are, make sure to subscribe to my channel because I talk about them a lot. On top of that, stocks are very liquid, which means that you can easily turn them into cash when you need it. All you need to do is just log on to your brokerage, sell the stocks, then you instantly have that cash. It's very easy to get your money when you need it. The cons, however, for this strategy is that the stock market can be quite volatile. It is not uncommon for investments to lose up to 50% of their value in a bad market. This can really throw a wrench into early retirement planning because depending on your circumstances and how you react to something like this, it can actually cause you to run out of money. Now, real estate, on the other hand, also provides a great path. The main pro of this strategy is that you can leverage a relatively small amount of money to control a very large asset. This is especially helpful when you're just starting out because it allows you to begin with a small amount of money and then quickly boost your net worth faster than probably the stock market would offer you. A second pro is that if you're living in a home that you own, eventually your housing costs are going to decline as you pay the mortgage off. This will reduce your future fixed expenses and provide you with more stability. And finally, if you were to invest in something like a rental property, well, this provides an additional pro because you would be receiving monthly rental income, which is much more stable than something like the returns offered by the stock market. And doing something like house hacking essentially combines all of these pros together. Now, the main con of real estate, however, is that it can be much more difficult and laborious to do. There's much more work involved here, and there's a higher barrier to entry than just simply doing something like buying index fund ETFs. Additionally, real estate is very illiquid, which means that if you needed the cash that's tied up in your home, it's not as fast to pull it out as it would be just selling your stocks in the stock market. Personally, I think the ultimate approach would be doing something like combining the two. I think real estate and the stock market both complement each other very, very well. It would provide you with a really robust investment portfolio that pairs great return potential with stability. So for me, in my journey, I decided to begin with investing in the stock market, and that's because I chose to live in a very high cost of living area. And for all my Canadians watching, you'll know how crazy our housing market is right now. Now, I could have stayed in my hometown where the cost of living is much lower, and honestly by now, I would probably own a property or two. But I made the personal choice to move here to Toronto because I wanted to experience as much as I can in life, especially while I'm young. Ultimately, as I've said before, I believe that personal finance is personal. Yes, there is usually an objective, hands down, best financial decision that somebody can make in every scenario, but we're not robots. We're humans. There's a lot of factors that influence our decision and what makes us happy. And sometimes a suboptimal financial decision is what makes us happy. But that's the whole point of being financially free in the first place, isn't it? We're not acquiring money for the sake of it. We're doing it to increase our freedom, fulfillment, and happiness in life. This brings me to the why behind early retirement. Why am I even trying to do this in the first place? Am I lazy? Do I want to just leave society and go off and live in the woods or something? No. Well, honestly, a little bit the second thing I just said. But no, even once I reach financial independence and I can retire early, I don't actually want to retire. I don't think I'll ever stop creating, building, or trying to contribute things to society. But I'll be honest, when I was young, I did kind of have the perception that the world was pretty broken, and I did kind of want to like break free from it and just kind of like leave. But as I've matured, I've realized that that's not going to help anyone. That's not going to help the situation. And now after creating this channel, I've gotten like a very small taste of what it means to be able to actually impact somebody positively. And I want to continue to take this as far as I possibly can. I think for me, the main thing that financial independence and freedom would provide is self-sufficiency. It seems like our society is fundamentally becoming more and more structured against people being able to become self-sufficient. Governments are just like printing money like crazy. Price inflation, asset inflation, it's getting out of hand, and there just seems to be more and more crises that we're facing. Now, this is not a political statement, but I just in general, I do not trust anyone with my future well-being other than myself. I want control over that. This is the main reason that I became self-employed. And so ultimately, my goal is to achieve stable self-sufficiency as early as I can in life, and then continue to contribute to society, but on my own terms. And hey, maybe I will spend some time in the woods too. I would really like to do some of the wonderful through hikes that our Earth has to offer. And with the metaverse coming, honestly, I think I'll need it. So this has been a little status update on my journey to financial freedom and retiring by the time that I'm 35. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it interesting. Don't forget, sign up for Neo. Get that $50 and all the other perks that come with it. Thank you so much for watching. See you again soon.